All right, now everyone, welcome to the day one video for our mini unit 15, a review of some constructions. Make sure you've got a straight edge on your desk and your compass as well. Your homework is going to be pages 5 and 6 in this packet, and you'll need your compass for it. So first thing we're going to do is construct an equilateral triangle. So what we want you to do is with your straight edge, make any line segment. Okay, it could be horizontal, anything else. Just don't make it too big. Make it like a medium-sized line segment. Because what's going to happen is that's going to be one of the sides of our equilateral triangle. So from there, we're going to take our compass, and we want to put our point on one end of the line segment, and we'll put our pencil on the other end of the line segment. And what you're going to do is swoop it up, and then we're going to reverse it. So put your point on the other end of the line segment. Should be able to keep your compass exactly the same because it should already be set to the length of the line segment. So we're going to swoop it up. And where they intersect, that's going to be our third vertex of the triangle. So we'll go to your straight edge now, and we're going to connect with our straight edge from that intersection point up top to the end points of each of your line segment. And what this creates is an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangles have 3 congruent sides, and all the angles are the same. So 180 divided by 3 would tell us that all the angles are 60. So if you ever have to create a 60-degree angle, this is one of the best ways to do it. Just make an equilateral triangle. All right, next we want to do an equilateral triangle, and we want the side lengths to be the same as the one shown. So with your straight edge, just make a random line segment that's longer than the one that's shown. Then with our compass, we're going to measure how long the line segment is that was given to us. So just put your point on one end and put your pencil on the other end. And now we're going to pick up our compass and we're going to move it and we're going to put our point on the end point of our line segment that we did with our straight edge. And just make a little arc. And keeping your point right where it is, we're just going to swoop up. And then we're going to think of that intersection we just created as the other end of the base of our equilateral triangle. So we'll just put our point on that intersection point, which should bring our compass automatically to the end of our line segment. And we'll just swoop it up to get an intersection, just like we did above. And now with our straight edge, we'll connect from that intersection point down to each of the endpoints to create our equilateral triangle. Next up, we're going to construct a square. So we'll start by just making any random line segment. And just pick a point somewhere on that line segment. You can just put a little dot with your pencil. So I'm going to put my point right there. What we're going to do first is we are going to create a perpendicular line at that point. We will use our compass, and we're going to put our point on the line, and we just want to make an arc that's going to hit our line segment in 2 spots. If you happen to make your arc so big it went beyond your line segment, no big deal. Just extend your line segment with your straight edge. From here, we're going to put our point on one of our intersections that we had. And then we've got to open up our compass so it's more than halfway. So we're going to swoop it up and swoop it down. Then keeping the compass the same, we'll reverse it. We'll put our point on the other intersection. We'll swoop it up and swoop it down. And then going to our straight edge, we're going to connect those two intersections, which should automatically go through our point. So what we've done is we've created a right angle. So now what I want you to do is just pick a point on our line segments that's somewhere to the right of where we just made a right angle. So I'm going to put mine right here, we'll say. And what we're going to do is we're going to let the length from my black dot to the red dot be the length of my side in my square. So we're going to bring our compass over, and we're just going to measure how long that side in the square is. Now I have the benefit of I can adjust my point because my compass only opens to certain amounts. All of your compasses, you could open to an exact any amount. So keep your point where it is, and we're going to swing our compass up, and we're going to mark off on that vertical line segment. So this is now the third of our 4 points in the square. Now keep your compass the same, and I'm going to move my point now over to my bottom left point of my square, and I'm just going to make a little arc above. And then I'm going to pick up my compass and I'm going to put my point at that intersection we created and make a little arc. And where that intersects is our 4th point for our square. To finish off, all you have to do is with your straight edge, connect your points. And that should create our square for us. Now, that first step we did was creating a perpendicular line at a point on a line. So we would use that if we want to create any figure that has a right angle. So say a right triangle, a rectangle, and a square in this case. Moving on to number 4, we want to create an isosceles triangle that has the given base and the given leg. So we're going to start out, just use your straight edge and make any random line segment. And we're going to use our compass to mark off on that line segment the length of our base. In an isosceles triangle, the base is the side of the triangle that's not one of the ones that are equal. The two legs are the ones that are equal to each other. So set your compass to the length of the base. We'll put our point on one end and make a little mark. That's now going to be the one side of our isosceles triangle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our compass so it's opened as much as the leg length. And we're going to do this kind of like the equilateral triangle one, but it's just when we do our arcs, they're not going to be the same as that bottom side. So putting your point at one of the endpoints of the base, we're now just going to swoop our arc up. And then we'll move our point to the other side of our base, so where we had marked it up. And we'll again do an arc above. Now where those two cross, we'll just connect with our straight edge. And that gives us an isosceles triangle. Those two legs are congruent to each other. The angles across from those congruent sides would be our base angles. We know those are also congruent in an isosceles triangle. All right, we're going to construct an isosceles right triangle. A lot of the steps are going to be the same as a square. We just won't have as many steps for the square as we did for the square. So let's start out with our straight edge. Just make any line segment. And we are going to just pick some random point on that line segment. We're going to create a perpendicular line at that point. So we'll put our point on the point, and we'll make any arc that hits the line segment twice. From there, we'll put our point on one of the intersections, and then we've got to open our compass so that it's more than halfway. And we'll swoop it up and swoop it down. And we'll reverse it. Put your point on the other of the original intersections, swoop it up and swoop it down. And then using your straight edge, connect your intersections and just extend it up a little ways. So we've got the right angle part of the isosceles right triangle. All we need to do is just mark off the same amount on each side of the segments that are perpendicular. So we're going to put our point at the vertex of that right angle. And just pick any amount you want. Mark a little bit off on the horizontal. That's going to give us a second point in our right triangle. And then keeping your point right where it is, we'll swing our compass up and mark off the exact same distance on the vertical of our perpendicular. And we'll now have our three coordinates of our right triangle. We know it's an isosceles right triangle because we constructed the perpendicular line segments to make the right angle. And we've now guaranteed that the legs are congruent. So we got an isosceles right triangle. If the directions said to construct a 45, 45, 90 triangle, it would be the exact same thing. Because in an isosceles right triangle, if you've got a right angle and the base angles have to be equal, that can only be true if those base angles are each 45. On to number 6, we got a triangle and we want to construct an altitude from vertex A. We know from proofs that altitude of a triangle implies perpendicular lines. So we want to construct a perpendicular line from a point that is not on the line we're trying to be perpendicular to. We will start out by putting our point at A and make any arc that hits the opposite side, so in other words BC, twice. So point on A, make an arc that hits BC twice. From those intersections, we're now just going to do our perpendicular bisector construction. So put your point on one of your intersections. Make sure you're open more than halfway to the other intersection and we'll swoop it up and down. And then we'll reverse it. So I'll put our point on the other intersection. We'll swoop it up and down. And then we'll go to our straight edge. We're going to connect those intersections and extend it up through A. And what we just did is we created a line coming from A that makes a right angle with the opposite side, meaning it is an altitude. The last one we're going to look at in this video, and then you'll be able to start the homework. We are going to construct a median from vertex B. In proofs, we have that median of a triangle implies midpoint. So that means if we want to come from B, we want to find the midpoint of the side across from it. We want to find the midpoint of AC. We're going to find that midpoint by just doing the perpendicular bisector of AC. So let's put our point on A and open your compass more than halfway to C. And we're going to swoop it up and down. And we're going to reverse it now, keeping your compass the exact same length. Put your point on C. And we'll swoop it up and down to get two intersections. We'll connect those intersections. And what we are really curious about is where does that connection of the intersections hit side AC? So right here. What we'll do now is we will just connect with our straight edge from our vertex B over to that point, which was our midpoint. And that is your median. So from B to that red dot is your median of the triangle. And if you ever need to check, just note if we go from C to the red dot, it's the same thing as red dot to A. So we have in fact found the midpoint. Okay, any time that's remaining in the period, you can do your homework, which just as a refresher is packet page 5 and 6. Have a great rest of your day.